All right, welcome everyone to the first FWA podcast of 2025. It is Break It Down here with your co-hosts CBK and our boy Oz. Oz, what's going on, man?
Hey man, how's it going? I'm doing pretty all right as far as I go.
Yeah, I am. Before this, I was actually legit trying to outline my promo for the Grand March, but that's not going good. So thank God we're recording a podcast instead, so I can get my mind off of that. But essentially, if you don't know what this is Break It Down. And on Break It Down, what we do is exactly what the title is. We break it down, we break down your matches, stories, characters, and promos, breaking it down with the individuals who were involved in it. And that brings us to this episode of Break It Down, where we will be breaking down the hottest tournament of FWA. I'm gonna say in the last 5 years because I think it even surpasses the F1. It is the Fallout Eliminator, and today's guest is the architect behind it all. You know him, you love him, you lost to him many times. It is SS. Welcome SS to the pod.
Hello, hello. Nice to be introduced as the architect. I'm sure the listeners would have thought that you'd have finally got Seth Rollins on the podcast, but just swerved at the last minute there. He's using me. Yeah, funnily enough, I wasn't even in this tournament, which makes me as a guest strange. But yeah, I love tournaments, as everyone knows, and graded every promo in the tournament. So yeah, looking forward to breaking it down with you two tonight.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's you actually I'm already have like kind of given I don't know what they call them, breadcrumbs to a couple questions that I had for later in the podcast. So shout out to you on that. But just the Fallout Eliminator in general, I mean, like I said earlier, it's created so much buzz around the FWA. It actually has made me read promos, which is, as we all know, that I don't read promos that often. So, and I've read shows, which I don't read shows that often either, and that's a problem. But that's a me problem, not a pod problem, right? So we've got NTR, shout out my boy Oz, and Danny
Yeah, still
Toner.
alive.
Hell yeah! Even though I'm like still convinced that you're dead, since I haven't read the latest shit, so I'll get on that. It also had a pretty interesting story arc for, or the beginning of what I think is a story arc for Cyrus Truth, which we'll touch on that a little later. And then we also have the most cliche story that every wrestling company always has, the good guy wrestlers who are taking up for the billion-dollar corporation that won't even pay for their medical bills. That's right, the FTN and FWA frontline story that we saw kind of transpire at the end of the last Fallout. But honestly, we're going to break all that down here in this next hour. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and what? Break it down. All right, so we're breaking it down, the FWA Fallout Eliminator Tournament. This is actually the second Fallout Eliminator Tournament. The first one was, oh, God, SS, do you know the year?
It was right. It was the right at the start of the brand split era. So that would have been 2000 and I'm just checking. 2021. It would have been. Well, Meltdown one was July 2021. So summer 2021. Yeah. It was the first 5 shows of Fallout. In between. Back in business when the brand split started, and the first incarnation of Lights Out, I believe.
Yes, yes. Amazing, amazing time. It was all Fallout. The summer of Fallout was honestly our FWA, in my opinion, our FWA version of one of the summers of Punk. I know a lot of you aren't fans of CM Punk, but the dude has had some pretty legit summers. Uh, and it was, I think it was amazing. We had some heavy hitters throughout the entire tournament. Promos were being thrown out left and right, where it was kind of just like, damn, dude, these people are not fucking around. And then it just made it solidified, in my opinion, Fallout as, and I know you all are as like, oh man, there is no A show versus B show. In my opinion, that tournament solidified Fallout as the A show for FWA during that time. What do you guys think? SS Oz?
I think,
Yeah,
well, I think like deliberately, me and Man drafted people who like hadn't really like won the world championship, and like we kind of wanted it to be like hungry, unproven people who were like gonna drop bombs every week to try and like elevate themselves and elevate Fallout as well. And like the Eliminator tournament was a great showcase for that straight off the bat. Even though it maybe ended in not the best way because of unfortunate circumstances, but yeah, for the first 4 rounds of the tournament, the promos, as you said, were absolutely incredible and really set the bar high for the show going forward.
I mean, yeah, ending Fallout tournaments in controversy seems to be a recurring theme with this year's ending, especially.
And you know
On the
what? I
brand
think the
split, yeah, you have to agree with SS, and it was different from the start how Fallout approached the draft in compared to Meltdown. Meltdown went more top heavy, whilst Fallout went for a roster that anyone can beat anyone. That was the mindset from the get-go, and it was so tight, and like pretty much everyone they picked delivered on their end. So it was, I think in my opinion, it was the best period of FWA I've ever seen and played in. That early brand split, it was a cinema, as they say.
Yeah.
And I think F Fallout during that time, if I could compare it to anything, I'd say it was like, that Ring of Honor where it was just like putting out bangers after banger after banger, and Meltdown was kind of like the WWE. It had those big names and whatnot, but it was kind of, and this is not the shit on the Meltdown, because I thought Meltdown was doing amazing shit, especially with Tag Wars. But it just felt kind of more like more the more polished show, and honestly, Fallout just felt like an indie show that was just like everybody's going out here to prove stuff, like SS and Oz were just saying. And man, did we ever that summer? Good times. Pandemic going on too, and we just ignored it and kept on writing. That's how you do
Well,
it.
that's probably why, because the pandemic was happening, so nobody could go out. Like everybody had a lot more time in, and like the FWA was a really good outlet for that at the time. So like, yeah, maybe that's why the promos were all so incredible, was because it was pandemic era.
Yeah.
Unless you were Jimmy
I
King or Randy Ramon, like COVID didn't exist in the FWA verse.
That's true.
yeah, there you go. There you go. So I guess my first question is going to be, so why the Eliminator and not the F1? The F1 last year, it was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. There was a couple times in there where I was kind of like, I'm in it, but I'm not in it. Like as far as like interest wise go. But why didn't we bring it back for this year?
Well, the problem with the F1, I guess, is that if like everybody was guaranteed to be around still for the following, 3 months that it takes for the tournament to run, for the pool stages to run, the F1's a great format, and I would definitely rather do the F1. But I can definitely see the problems with it as well. Like very quickly, if you have a long pool stage, like 2 or 3 of the people at the bottom of each pool aren't going to really be fighting for anything anymore, other than to play spoiler, which like maybe makes it unfair for the people who are facing competitive matches instead of that. So like I guess the Eliminator is a little bit fairer in that regard. It's just a single elimination tournament, and like if people disappear or lose one match, they have to keep going with matches. So I guess that's one of the reasons why we did the Eliminator, and it just for a change really from the F1 format, which we'd run 2 years in a row. We thought we'd do a single eliminator tournament instead, but a big Fed wide one, even bigger than the first eliminator tournament, obviously because there's no brand split now. But yeah, pretty much everybody entered one character, which you couldn't do as well with the F1. There was always like a qualification process, because you couldn't really do pool stages with 26 people, I think we had in the eliminator. So yeah, just to get everyone involved, do a big Fed wide tournament. And yeah, what I said about the keeping it competitive all the way through.
You think
Yeah,
like in the
F1,
let's say
F1 means like more opportunities for people to no show. I would know because I did that shit.
Do you think with the F1, if like in earlier stages, because I feel like for lack of a better term, people blow their load pretty quickly and then they start getting burnout in that tournament style. Do you think if maybe like you put like a all right, first stage 3,000 word cap or something like that, so that people kind of have to be a little bit more strategic, but it doesn't make them like, I don't know, throw out like this novella of a promo, and then it's kind of just like, well, I guess the next round you got to do the same thing or something better to beat your opponent. Do you think that
Yeah.
would help it out with pacing?
I think part of a tournament skill set is being able to pace yourself as well. So, like as you say, some people don't pace themselves well in tournaments, and burn out really early. But that's part of being in a tournament. So I don't really think that should be removed from it. And I don't really like word caps in general. I think it's fair to do one in the trios division. It's something a bit different, and like some people want to write in like a less not say competitive, but a less full-on environment, and the trios provides that. But I would probably want to get rid of the trios word cap, if anything, rather than introduce other word caps elsewhere. Um, I, I don't know. I think there's not a huge amount of difference between 3,000 words promo and a 4,500 word promo in terms of the amount of time and effort and stuff that it takes to put into it. In fact, at times, editing something down to 3,000 words can add another layer of work to do in a promo. Um, so yeah, I think you've got to be able to pace yourself in the tournament, as you say, but that's part of it, and I don't think that should be removed from it really. And all the kind of like top tier people, um, the top contenders to win the tournament. And you could argue they'd face burnout by the end of it. Like there was a no show in the final, I guess, but I don't really think burnout played into that at all. And I think the promos towards the end of the tournament were just as good, if not better, than the promos at the start of the tournament. So yes, no, not really. But I guess that is the Eliminator rather than the F1. But I was going to say at the start, the first F1 did have more matches than the Eliminator. You had to win. Well, you had to do 7 matches for the first F1. But the second F1 was, you could win the F1 with only four matches, which is actually less than the Eliminator. Less time. So yeah, I think it can cause. I don't know if I'd call it burnout. What happens in a pool style tournament? It's more that if you lose a couple of matches in the start of the pool stage, nothing left really to write for. So like, what's the point in turning out a 5,000 word promo there? But every match in the F1, it's sudden death. So sorry, every match in the Fallout Eliminator is sudden death. So I don't think there was as much of that, as much of people being like, oh, there's no real point writing this anymore because I can't qualify from the pool, because obviously that wasn't part of the structure of this tournament.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I get you. I guess my biggest thing is, my God, I'm speaking for me only. I fucking bomb when it comes to trying to think of new ideas for summers, and then if I have to think of like 8 of them for a full tournament, I've blown my load already by the third promo, and after that you're shooting blanks, and it's not fun for me anymore. So maybe that's why the F1 was like one of those things where I was like, I don't want to touch that at all.
I get
But
that,
Oz, were
but
you in it? Oz?
Yeah,
Were you in the F1 in the fall and both the F1 and the Fallout?
I was in the first F1 with Caesar, but like
Uh,
my real life got real busy, so I couldn't show for the tournament.
yeah,
It wasn't
so which
burnout
one?
or anything. It was real life circumstances. It was the first
see,
F1.
And that happens.
Caesar was withdrawn from the F1, but the second F1, as I said, had the same or less matches than the Eliminator. So yeah, it depends
Yeah,
how many people in the pool stages and all that kind of stuff with the length of the tournament.
for sure.
I was in the
Oz,
first Eliminator as well, but like we all know what happened.
yeah, man. I'm going. I on the record. I still say Oz should have won that match. I feel like it was a sympathy win for Sean Summers, because he was new. But whatever. I mean, Sean Summers is the devil, so I'll take the fucking W and
And I
stop
wanted
bleating about it.
Yeah, I was
and I
worried
wanted on
about.
the record that I would still pick Summers to win that match. Like, yeah, we've talked about that match. We talk about that match like every 5 days or something. So
I was worried that I was going to have to remember promos that were written 3 months ago, and now you're debating results from 4 years ago. Like, I don't really stand a chance. Sorry, I don't remember this.
Nah, you're good, man. Because I swear to God, I barely remember that promo, but I know it was garbage. But either way, Oz, as since you competed in both the F1 and Fallout Eliminator, which style do you like better, the round robin or the single elimination?
like as a reader, as a consumer of the product, I would always favor round robin style better than single eliminator. But as a competitor, the Fallout Eliminator is obviously easier to handle. That you lose your
Yeah.
routes.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of slow. I did not understand what round robin was for years. When I used to hear about it, I was like, "What the fuck are we even talking about?" So I didn't know how it worked or anything like that because I'd never been in like a situation where I needed to know what a round robin type tournament was. I mean, baseball, in my opinion, doesn't really do that as often as it probably does appear, but not in the mainstream. And football definitely doesn't do it, or American football. Let me preface that because I know some of you get touchy about it. But it's yeah, it blew my mind and I was like, what the fuck is this? And it's still one of those things where I'm like, I get it, but like I also don't get it because like it's points based and my attention span is about the length of a what, a squirrel's attention span. So I'm always just like, I don't know. But I do appreciate the style and it being different than just single eliminator because it makes you have to be a little bit more strategic. Maybe you decide, hey, I do want to lose this matchup because I need a break, and but that means you have to keep going hard for like the next few so you can keep on moving on. But that's just a Tony thing where I don't know. I don't enjoy round robin, but that's because it's me.
I guess
I
you've
mean, in
also
sports, in American sports, when you remove the playoffs, it's all round robin. Like until the playoffs, you do round robin, and the round robin tournament determines the seeding for the playoffs.
not quite because, well, in American football at least, I know they don't play every single team, do they? They do within the little division, but not
Yeah,
across the league. But I
yeah,
think it's definitely more prevalent in European sports and like wrestling as well. Maybe not in America, but you've got the G1 obviously and the Champion Carnival in all Japan as well. Like, it's
And
just
one
part of
victory in Noah and Continental Classic in AEW.
exactly, yeah. So it's a staple of wrestling, I guess. So like, yeah, and it's different. When we did the first F1, the most recent tournaments, the most recent tournament rather, singles tournament was the Eliminator. So we have recently done a single elimination, so it's something a bit different. So yeah, it's good to mix it up and do different, fresh things, I guess, rather than the same
yeah,
thing every.
for sure. Yeah, I think oh man, I think if we ever do decide to like bring back the F1, which that's the next question, will the F1 make a return?
Maybe at some stage. I don't. I think in the coming year, the only tournament plan is maybe a return of the Buddy Bowl at some point, the blind tag tournament. Um, but other than that, I don't think we've got any singles tournaments planned for the upcoming year as yet. Other than the X4 as well, back in business, but that's obviously a one night thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's not happening. I've already vetoed that. So good luck if you thought you were running that tournament. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. All right. So as I stated in the intro, you are the architect behind this year's Fallout Eliminator. Just based on what I've seen throughout basically the putting together the drawing stage, doing the live drawing, and just the reading the matches and the promos and all that stuff. And I just got to ask you, so like, where did your interest in tournaments come from? Like, tournaments are it's either you're like man has the CC, which he's been writing for what the last 4 years, going for match of the year, and then you've got the not only the Fallout Eliminator tournament number one, but you've got the F1 under your belt. You've got the CW it's a CWA
Gold
that
Rush.
tournament. Yeah,
The
the Gold
gold.
Rush. And then you've also got, I believe, another F1 in Fallout Eliminator. This one that we're currently in. So what kind of makes you interested in tournaments? Why are you the guy who's writing them and putting them together?
We also don't forget the King of the Death match as well, which is
Yes, yes.
but um, I don't know. I as I said, tournaments are more prevalent in European sports. I guess they're a fun part of sports here. There's lots of different tournaments even within the same league. I was just going to Jam this week actually, who's been getting into football, actual football, not American football. And
Okay.
he's asked me like why is there so many different trophies in English football, and then he listed like four different trophies, asking like what's the point of having all four different ones. So I guess it's just more part of the sports culture here to have tournaments, and tournaments are fun. I've always enjoyed tournaments. Watching them, like wrestling tournaments, are great. The G1 is like brilliant. Even when I'm not watching New Japan, I always dip back in for the G1 usually. Um, so yeah, obviously all the mods work on all of the tournaments, like in terms of the grading and stuff like that. But most of the time when I'm like, encouraging or insisting that we do tournaments, I always feel like maybe I should take on like a share of the grading and the writing workload if I'm pushing to have all of these singles matches, because tournaments are a lot of singles matches, obviously, which is more work for the mods generally. So yeah, just I guess I've always liked tournaments. Tournaments are fun. We should do more tournaments, not less tournaments, Tony.
I think you should add in an element of the next Fallout Eliminator. This is me like fantasy booking slash Yu-Gi-Oh booking. You should do a tag team match in one of the rounds where two people, the winning team moves on and the losing team gets eliminated. I think that would shake
Fun
some shit up
fact.
in the tournament.
Yeah,
Fun
I've
fact.
always
We nearly did that in the warehouse with Noah and Danny against Alistair and Chris, but we end up not doing that.
Yeah, that would have
yeah
been dope, dude.
yeah I can't remember why that fell through. I think Man was pushing for it, but I don't remember. But yeah, I thought that would have been really good. Yeah, I like that idea for tournament, but you need obviously it like leads to, well, I guess if you did in the first round, um, a lot of people, like half the field, obviously would be eliminated in tag matches, which seems a bit much, but I agree it would be fun. You need a lot of people for that tournament, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it just reminds me of all right, so here's the nerd section. On Yu-Gi-Oh! Where Kaiba and Yugi had to duel the masked dudes, and it was a tag team duel, and they ended up eliminating those dudes, killing them because they ended up dying. Spoiler alert. But yeah, and I always thought, man, that's pretty cool. It's a cool way to advance the tournament, a tag team duel. So like a tag team match in wrestling, in a wrestling tournament, where you either win or you lose, and you're with someone who you normally wouldn't tag with. I think that creates a dynamic and a storytelling that could be really good, especially if it would have been like Sean Summers and I don't know, Michelle versus NTR. It's like these two
Yeah.
don't fucking like each other, and NTR is the established tag team. There's that story right there.
Well, first of all, I don't know what the fuck you were talking about for the first half of that, but for the second half, I agree. That would be a fun in the tournament. I agree. We should do
I
that in the next.
know,
Yeah.
I know what he was talking about in the first part, but I disagree. They didn't die. They were sent to the Shadow Realm. There's a difference.
There's no difference. America is just a bunch of pussies, and they think that we can't handle it. That we say like, "Yo, these dudes are dead," so they came up with the Shadow Realm. SS, you got to watch Yu-Gi-Oh, man. It's amazing. The first
Yeah,
version.
I think you need a different guest
Yeah.
if you're breaking down Yu-Gi-Oh tonight. But
Yeah, I'll bring in Gip or something. He'll break it down with me. All right, so I guess what makes a good tournament versus a bad tournament, and you both of your opinions. We'll start with you, Oz. Tell me what you think makes a good tournament and what make versus a bad tournament.
I mean, that's a simple question. You need a lot of competitive people, uh, close matches, and memorable moments. That's like very vague answer, but I think it covers it.
Yeah.
Like for example. Yeah, for example, we had all the warehouse matches in this year's tournament I'm talking about. We had a lot of main eventers, FTN, NTR, Summers, Tyrus, Gabby, etc. Wait, was Gabby in it? I don't think she was in it, no.
Yeah, she was in it, I
No,
think. Yeah.
she
No,
was.
she
Let me
She was
see.
not. She was the only
she
one
wasn't.
because she had
She was a contender.
had a match against Jeremy Best during the tournament at Winter Wasteland. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we had, yeah, even Makima. John is always a threat when he feels like it, at least. And we had obviously lots of memorable moments, especially in the closing stages of the tournament.
Yeah, I think in
And
addition. Sorry. Carry on.
and another memorable moments that isn't related to NTR, like the finish of Summers against Cyrus.
Yeah. 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 We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I think in
Um,
addition to close matches and competitive people and moments, as I said, like stories running through a tournament, especially in a wrestling tournament. Only in a wrestling tournament. Obviously, you don't really have the same kind of story element in most other tournaments, but I think that was provided in this one by NTR. And like, can anyone stop NTR essentially? And obviously, it turned out that the only people that could stand in NTR's way were other members of NTR, which was like a not well. I don't know if it was the way I expected it to end, but yeah, it was a complete dominant performance in the end, and that was an interesting payoff to the story. But yeah,
yeah, man.
It's
Yeah, I think NTR actually. Oh, I'm sorry, Oz, but I think NTR. Um, that whole story and just seeing everybody in the chats talking about it, I was like, okay, what? Because at first I was like, I don't give a fuck. If I'm being honest, like I don't give a fuck about Danny Toner's new group. He's already had a group. It was excellence of execution. What is executive excellence? There we go. I've tried to
yes,
name the Bret Hart,
yes,
and like I didn't care about that. And so when he said, "Oh, he has a new group and Danny Toner's doing all this shit and NTR is doing a takeover of FWA," I was like, I don't care. I wasn't. It didn't make me want to read. And then one day I just said, "Fuck it, let me go read," since everybody's sucking Danny's dick about it. And I read and then I started reading Oz's promos. I read Danny's promos. I Traffic Cone number 2, which is what the fuck are you guys doing with that? But somehow this guy is writing the hell out of this character, and I was just like, oh, this is some good shit. And I think you all, the writing in this tournament from just a lot of the competitors is what brought me back into actually wanting to be involved in FWA heavily with not just me promoing, but reviewing promos, jumping in and being like, hey, what if we did this for this match and helping out in any way I can. It's just like this tournament is an example of a good tournament. Um, I can't think of an example of a bad tournament, if I'm being honest, because almost every tournament has piqued my interest in one way or another. Whether it be a small peak of interest or a large peak of interest. As far as FWA goes, do you all know of any bad tournaments in professional wrestling in general that you would be like, yo, that was just a terrible tournament?
I always thought growing up that the King of the Ring was a bit shit, to be honest. Like, I liked the concept of it, but then like the execution of it was a bit shit because everybody was always wrestling 3 matches in one night, and WWF never really had the best wrestlers anyway, so you were generally watching shitbags wrestle multiple times. Always
You didn't think
dislike
Brett was killing it?
Brett was a bit before, like by the time I was old enough to watch wrestling, Brett was already in like WCW, I think,
There.
or not in King of the Ring anyway. But yeah.
I started watching wrestling in 2010, so the kings I saw were like King Sheamus, King Barrett. Those were the types of kings of the rings I was accustomed to. So
Yeah, you got the
you
shitty
asked me
ones.
about my opinion about the King of the Ring tournament. And addition to that, in TNA, Bound of Glory series is such a good concept, but like the contents of the tournament always got weird.
Yeah, TNA really fucked themselves. They would have really good, like you said, it'd be a really good concept, and then all of a sudden they'd overbook it or they do something stupid in there, and you just like, There you go, TNA. That's why you're losing your TV deal because you're giving Russo power. Yeah, I agree there. All right, so up next, because we still haven't even broke down the tournament. That's the crazy part. But we're getting there, trust me. So all right, so SS Oz, just both of you, and I'll jump in on this one too. I'm gonna tell you all the competitors who were in the tournament. All right, so we've got Nova Diamond, Danny Toner, I'm gonna butcher this. Makima Snowmentashi,
Makima.
Makima. There we go. Cyrus Truth, XYZ, Mike Parr, Vengador, Jason Jetta, Nick Williamson, Koala Kid, Ryan St. James, Captain Righteous, Brooklyn Steiner, Dina Hicks, also known as Jade Cargill, Blair Ravenwood, Traffic Cone number two, Aaron Harrows, Karis, Alistair Black, Sean Summers, Chris Peacock, TJ Alexander, Nova Taylor, Tommy Bedlam, Jackson Phoenix, and dude, based on the participants who you've all heard, how did you think the tournament was going to pan out?
Interesting question. First of all, like I wasn't even sure I was gonna be in it. I think I decided on that last minute after learning that both Danny and Traffic Cone was gonna be in it. So I said, yeah, we should all members of the NTR should be there. So that's why I decided to join. Very luckily for me, both me and Danny got a first round bye. I don't know what I would have done if I got a first round matchup. But then I got a very hard second round matchup to make up for that. As for the tournament, yeah, the favorites were there. They're like the usual favorites. Your Danny's, Peacocks, your Alistairs, and Cyrus was even Sean Summers's, because Summers went deep in the first Fallout Eliminator as far as I remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't expect any surprises. I thought one of those names was gonna be end up winner, but I always knew that Traffic Con was gonna surprise a lot of people, because Traffic Con to me is the secret MVP of the whole NTR thing. After this tournament, I don't know how much of a secret he remains, but yeah, that dude is fucking insane. I'm telling you.
It's borderline annoying because I feel like it was supposed to be a gag character, and then it turns out, oh shit, Traffic Cone number two, or Coney as you all call him in promos. Coney is literally just a beast, and the ideas they come up with, everything, the writing, it's all flawless, and it's kind of just like, damn, like imagine like you know how annoyed I'd be if I lost to a fucking Traffic Cone, like in general. Like that's some whatever that company that has that blow up doll that's beating up everybody. Funny as shit, but like if this was like reality based or whatnot, I'd be pissed off. I'd be like, God damn it, I lost to a traffic cone. But like be better, I guess, because the traffic cone is fucking killing it, you know?
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's obviously a guy underneath Traffic Cone. He's not a sanctioned Traffic Cone,
What?
unlike Yoshihiko in Japan. Yeah, it's not a sanctioned
Just spoke
Traffic Cone. It's
on.
a guy in a Traffic Cone costume.
Well, back at the Warehouse Trios tournament, I thought it was clear that it was a guy in a traffic cone suit. But this more recent run, it's definitely become a bit more ambiguous. You know, like I mean, the sign-up page, for instance, has him at what, like 14 inches and 3 pounds or something. But I guess
I
that's
mean, yeah,
just...
don't take that at face value.
I guess that's like a Crash Holly reading. But to answer your question, CBK, about how I thought the tournament would go, I thought after the draw, I thought if Tig wrote well 4 times, he would have like a very good chance of winning. But like his biggest threat was, you know, not being able to consistently do it 4 times. And he had hard matches throughout the tournament, really. You know, like he had Peacock, then Summers, I think, in the quarters, then Nova, then TC2. But obviously, the TC2 match, didn't really need to write that well to win, even though it's still a good promo. But yeah, I thought Tig was the favorite if he wrote well 4 times, and he seemed to have the motivation to. There were a lot of people, lot of threats to him. I always expected both of NTR to eventually lie down to Toner for story purposes. I wasn't expecting Diamond to put up so much of a fight in the semis. Um, with the promo, if nothing else. Um, but yeah, but there's obviously threats like Peacock, Black, Summers, Cyrus, as Nova mentioned, the Eternal characters as well, who both had very good runs in the tournament. But yeah, that's how I pictured it going.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I initially, when I saw just who all was competing in the tournament, just some of my people who I was like, all right, because clearly I don't know 90% of the people in the tournament, which you'll find out later when we do the draft episode of Break It Down. That'll be fun. But I was just going on basis of people I knew, and I was like, okay, well. My boy Oz, Nova Diamond's gonna make it. Danny Toner's gonna probably go. I assume Danny Toner would stall out in the semifinals, and then someone would come out and over will topple him. I assumed it would be. I thought this tournament was going to be Chris Peacock's road to redemption, getting him back to that FWA title. That's who I thought was going to end up taking the whole entire thing. And I thought that we were going to start finally seeing there's already, in my opinion, cracks in FTN. Yeah, in FTN, and I thought this was going to be like that major fracture that we'd see in one maybe the semifinals or even the finals, because I assumed those two were going to go pretty far. But boy, was I wrong when NTR came in, and NTR is like it's like honestly FWA's NWO. They're so fucking cool and they're so fucking good. I guess better than the NWO because if you really think about it, the NWO was fucking garbage as far as talent went for wrestlers. Um, but anyway, that's off
They're
topic.
jabroni, man.
Yeah, it's just like man, honestly, fucking now that I think about it, NWO was kind of shit. But anyways,
You
NTR,
one of them.
NWR killed it. And I thought traffic cone number two was gonna definitely be out in round one. I was just like, oh yeah, this is the traffic cone number two, dude. All of these characters, they're funny, but they're gonna be gone. And look at me, egg on my fucking face again.
Yeah,
So the
needed.
tournament definitely didn't pan out. Yeah, did not
Yeah,
pan out the way that I thought it was. But what are we gonna do?
yeah,
I love the way that it panned out. By the way. Um, So I guess the tournament's name, the Fallout Eliminator, right?
yeah.
Fallout's in the name. SS, what were you thinking? Why did you put it on Meltdown?
Well, it was on both Fallout and Meltdown. There were matches on both shows.
Yeah,
The original tournament was called the Fallout Eliminator because it was on Fallout, so there's a little nod to that. I think maybe half the matches were on Meltdown, a little under half of them were on Fallout, and then there was some matches on the Warehouse as well. The reason that more matches were on Meltdown was just because it worked better with the scheduling. Because obviously in the semi-final and final stage, it was all within the same promo window, so we could get Meltdown out first, and then the finalists could then promo again within the Fallout window. And in the semi-final stage, it made and the quarter-final stage, it made sense to have them in the Meltdown show because then the writers in the match could have a few extra days to know who their opponent was in the next round and get started on that. Because as you mentioned earlier, it's a lot of matches in a row, so we wanted to try and avoid as much burnout as we could by giving the people in the tournament, a little bit more time maybe than those people out of the tournament to plan for their next promo if they wanted to. So yeah, it was a bit ironic, obviously, that the quarterfinal and the semi-final stage consecutive that was on Meltdown, and it was called the Fallout Eliminator. But it would, to me, it would make less sense to change it just because we wanted to get the name to be the same, and then cause like a lot of scheduling hassles and give people less time to write their promos. So yeah, that's the idea behind the name anyway.
just a side note, the logic that you put behind shit is honestly interesting to me. Like, because me, I just would have said, "Fuck it, we're doing everything on Fallout." and people are just gonna have to deal with it. And the way you kind of broke it down, like, oh man, they give them more time and whatnot, that makes so much sense or whatnot. And I don't know, are you just a logical dude in general, or is it just like, oh man, like I was just thinking of the people and the writers?
Yeah. I guess I'm quite a logical person, and like I do most of the. Well, I said yeah, like I plan out most of the scheduling, I guess, for the mods and stuff, and like you're always thinking about how it's going to lay out. And the tournament wanted to make it work so that it finished at the pay-per-view in time for the championship match. So yeah, it just made more sense to have the matches on Meltdown, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think the speaking of the schedule and odds, tell me your thoughts on this too. We'll go with SS first. Do you think that there should be a fallout and a meltdown between Grand March and the CC?
I would say no. I think it's good to get on the road to back in business. I think it would just push it another thing later into the year. Um, you know, you've got to take a Fallout Meltdown out from somewhere else in the year if you still want the same number of pay-per-views and stuff like that. And we're only running like 4 pay-per-views a year, really, including the anniversary show, which only had a couple of shows build as well. So yeah, so like every show that you add is like 3 more weeks out of the schedule elsewhere, and every pay-per-view has, I think, 3 Fallout Meltdown builds, which isn't a huge amount as it is. So although maybe it would be nice, again, at the end of the day, you'd only be building towards a battle royale, really. So like, just get the battle royale done and then get on the road to back in business. But yeah.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Ozzy, what you think?
Okay, so there are two different perspectives in this. One is a player's perspective, and the second is a mod's perspective. Obviously, mod's perspective has to take precedence because they are the ones running this whole shebang, and they want to make it like easier on themselves, at least not as like not nightmarishly hard. And so we had a schedule with less shows in number this year at this BIB to BIB cycle. I'm personally not the biggest fan of that as a player because especially since we're doing the whole NTR takeover storyline, I thought we would have a lot to benefit from having more weekly shows to build up more character moments and matches and trades and whatnot. But yeah, the mods wanted to not make it nightmare hard on themselves. So yeah, I understand. That's the
Yeah.
way things are, and we have to adapt to that.
Just to elaborate on that, like for a couple of years post brand split, as I was alluded to, our schedule was 1 week for promo window, 1 week for show repeated. Some pay-per-views would have 2 weeks, but most pay-per-views even were only 1 weeks, really. But yeah, like from a mod perspective, you know, you've got your week of writing a show, and there is a lot of work that is involved in that, as Oz said, as Oz conceded. So yeah, so you got a week of writing the show where you are doing like probably 12 to 18 hours of work on the show sometimes, and then it's a week to write your promo, which is the fun bit. So I don't know, making all the promo windows 2 weeks, it did decrease us from I think about 24 to 18 or 19 shows a year, but it does give a little bit of a buffer as well to the mods to be able to do that. And and more so than that, obviously, when we did that move, it wasn't like we were getting a huge amount of like character segs in anyway on a weekly basis, in kind of a dry spell for segs anyway. So like we thought maybe it would give people more of a chance to like work on segs as well, because they wouldn't be as relentless with promos. I think our schedule next year is pretty good. It's got a good balance, and we're going to announce that after the Grand March, I think.
Please tell me that Kansas City, Missouri at least makes it on the schedule.
Absolutely not. We are not going there. There are 3 state warrants on Rusno in that. In that. So that's not.
I feel
not
like there may be a child support warrant out there in Kansas City or something like that. Yeah.
You know what? You know what, CBK, I'll give you this little nugget, all right? On Saturday, the 27th of September 2025, Meltdown 54, I think. Meltdown 54 will be coming to you live from Kansas City, Missouri. That's it's an exclusive.
Yeah, the Sprint Center. Boom, 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 boom. All right. That'll be like the one meltdown show Sean Summers actually wants to appear on. Hell
Yes. No.
yeah. Look at that. That's a break it down exclusive. You don't get that anywhere else. Um, Speaking of exclusives, let's exclusively jump in there and start breaking down round one of the tournament. So you've got what is it, 20 superstars. Oh God, 20 wrestlers in this first round. Um, First up, we got Vin Gador versus Aaron Harrows, Jason Jetta versus Karras, Nick Williamson, Aleister Black, Koala Kid, Sean Summers, Ryan St. James, Chris Peacock, Captain Righteous, TJ Alexander, Brooklyn Steiner, Nova Taylor, Dina Hicks, Tommy Bedlam, Blair Ravenwood, Jackson Phoenix, Traffic Cone number two versus Dude. So we can't break down each and every one of these matches because that would make this pod probably what 4 hours. But just out of those 10 matches, kind of tell me, SS. We'll start with you, then we'll jump to Oz. And then you don't even have to come to me because you know damn well that I only read a handful of matches anyways in the first round. Tell me, kind of tell me, like, what was your standout matches in that first round? And if you remember any promo where you were like, damn, that was pretty good, give them a shout out and kind of tell us about it.
All right, standout match for me, or closest match, was definitely Brooklyn Steiner versus Nova Taylor. I actually high 31.8 on my grades. That was
Yeah.
incredibly close. Every single one of the categories I had quite narrow, except for presentation I had quite wide in favour of Nova Taylor, but in every other category I had Steiner clawing back that gap, and I had them tied on 31.8 in the end. But Nova got the nod amongst the other graders to take the win there. But that match was really close. I thought I couldn't pick a winner between the two of them. I think Brooklyn was really unlucky to go out in the first round with that promo. I think he would have won in a lot of other matches. Standout promos. Just glancing over at my list of top promos for the tournament. My highest ranked first round promo, I think, was actually Chris Peacock against Ryan St. James, but Nova and Danny Toner, who are two of the guys who placed above him quite a lot on the list, hadn't entered the tournament at that stage. Peacock going up against a guy who eventually no-showed, obviously, but still a really good promo from Man in the first round.
Do you think the no shows hurt the tournament, or do you think it's okay?
I don't think there were that many, really. I mean, in the first round, there were a handful amongst the new people, but we still had good promos in that first round, and yeah, I don't think it really hurt the tournament too much in the end. You're always going to have no shows in an effect. I mean, what can you do? Like, I mean, if you're
Right.
worried about no shows, then you just not run tournaments, which takes a fun part of it out of it. And part of winning a tournament is being able to show consistently well each week, as I said earlier. So it's a shame that there were a few no shows, but I don't think any no shows really over through the balance in the tournament. There were many competitive matches. There were always competitive matches each and every round. So yeah, no.
Okay. Tell me what your thoughts on the round one was. What were some of your standout matches? Any promos you read that you were like, yo, man, this was good?
Yeah, I mostly agree with SS in that both Chris Peacock and Aleister Black promos stood out to me because of their quality, but they always do quality promos. So I'll rather give shoutouts to people we don't often talk about. For example, Nick Williamson, he came out the gate swinging. Well, it wasn't the main event, the FWA promo, well, the 6,000 word metaphor promo, but he showed that he was ready to throw down and go against the best of the best from the very beginning, coming up with his own concepts and his own storylines from the get-go. Yeah, obviously you don't beat Aleister Black in your first try, but like I thought that was hell of a first effort from Nick Williamson, and he is continuing to improve and get greater matches in the company. Other than that, I thought Jason Jett and Ryan St. James, they had a lot of promise when they first appeared. It was a shame they had the no-show and eventually leave the company. Other than that, I think my last shot's going to be to Jackson Phoenix. Yeah, it was slightly an upset. I wouldn't call it too big of an upset that Jackson Phoenix beat Blair Ravenwood, since Jackson Phoenix is not traditionally higher up than Blair Ravenwood in the traditional hierarchy. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but you get what I mean, right?
Yeah, I get
Like
exactly what you mean.
in a matchup like that, you think Blair as the favorites. So yeah, shout out to Jimmy King for getting that victory in that match, because that victory also led to a very memorable second round matchup for him. Oh, and one last thing that I want to mention is that Dina Hicks told Tommy that a storm was coming, and like shortly after that, an actual storm hit the area Tommy was living in.
Yeah, she also told him that a week late, I think, in her promo.
It's it's all right. Those dates are arbitrary. Everybody knows that. SS, come on.
Like,
Speaking of dates or whatnot, round two, round two had a lot of good dates between some wrestlers who have some history between them. But before we jump into that, I do want to talk about the people who got a bye to round two: Nova Diamond, Danny Toner, Makemi. Tell me how to say it.
Makima?
Nakama.
Makima.
Makima.
It's not. God.
Makima. I'm never beating the Sean Summers allegations. Makima, Cyrus Truth, XYZ, and Mike Park. That what they were randomly selected to be left out, right?
Randomly selected, yeah, live in the Discord.
That's fucking bonkers. Those are some hard hitters, and they all got that bye to the second round. Do you
Yeah,
think if those individuals would have had to compete in round one, do you think we would have seen a completely different tournament?
but it just depends who they were drawn against. Obviously, we could have seen Nova Diamond v Danny Toner in round one. So I think the first round draw kept like all pretty much of like the major people who you would say were favourites for the tournament apart. There was no like one tie where it was like two real favourites for the tournament. The closest to that again would probably be either Blair Phoenix or Nova Taylor v Brooklyn Steiner. So yeah, or Vengador Harrows maybe. Uh, only if they were drawn against one of the other big hitters, but most of those guys you'd probably expect them to come through the first round, depending on who they came up against, unless they were unlucky with the draw.
For sure, for sure. All right, round two. Round two, you got Cyrus Truth versus Sean Summers, Mike Park, Tommy Bedlam, Aleister Black, Nova Diamond, Chris Peacock, Danny Toner, TJ Alexander, XYZ, Vengador or Howard versus Steiner, Nova, Harris versus Makima Snowintashi, and Jackson Phoenix versus Traffic Cone number two. Essentially, in my opinion, round two was a pay-per-view quality show. If you just put all of them um as you just booked it as one show, that's pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, some
I
really
mean, just
good.
3 of those matches were enough to do a full show on. So
Yeah. Well, no, okay. I know the warehouse had Black Diamond and Peacock Toner. Who else was on the warehouse? Jackson Phoenix
Phoenix
Traffic
and
Cone.
Traffic Con.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we go. Tony.
we so first of all, the reason why CBK read the Arrows or Vengador is because we're reading from the draw document there. So I've just changed that. It was Vengador v Nova Taylor was the second round match. So yeah, 3 of them were on the warehouse, and then the other 5 kind of were on a pay per view on the Winter Wasteland show. That's where the other round 2 matches took place,
There we
which
go.
was just going to be like a TV special. But because like we had those matches, we also had a tag title defense, a world title defense, and the secular spectacular. We thought we'd turn it into like a full-on kind of special. Yeah.
And so SS, tell me about round two. What were your standout performances? What matches were you kind of like, oh shit, that was a great match? And promos, which ones were you like, yo, that's amazing? We'll start with you.
There were lots of like really close matches in this one on my grades. Kerry's versus Makama, I had like just over half a point difference with Kerry's just about getting the win. I enjoyed Kerry's promo quite a lot in that second round actually. Particularly character portrayal and presentation were both really good. Summer's Truth was super as well. I had those both scoring very highly. I had Truth at 32.3 and Summers at 32.75, so another very close match there. And I really loved the match right up there. Well, the idea behind the match right up. I think I wrote it. I'm not trying to sound egotistical there by saying I love my own right up. The idea of you had of them being DQ finish and the North American Championship being on the line, I thought was a really inventive touch that helped keep the tournament fresh. Bedlam v Parr, I think Parr did a really good job in that round. That was his best promo in the tournament, I thought, to overcome Bedlam. And then at the Warehouse, Nova versus Alistair was also a fantastic match, and the Nova Taylor promo, which I put the wrong grade on the thing I posted in the Fallout 48 card and discussion thread. I put a 32 for that, but I actually had it as a 32.5. So yeah, really good round, that second round, as you've already alluded to, with some very close matches. I'd probably pick Summers versus Truth as my pick in terms of the match of the tournament. But Black versus Nova had the probably the best match right up of the whole tournament, maybe. At the Warehouse, excellent match right up from Oz. Yeah, really good stuff. Loved the spot with the Hall of Fame ring, I think it was. And in terms of the best promo of the tournament, I had Toner graded the highest again, even though he came up against a no-show from Man. I had Toner up over 33 for his second round promo. So yeah, really good round, solid stuff from a lot of people.
Hell yeah. Oz, tell me your thoughts on round two.
Well, I'm not going to share any thoughts on the Warehouse because like that's the show we worked on. That's the match we worked on. As for my promo, I love doing my promo. I think that was a very fun promo. That would actually warrant break it down episode on its own, maybe later.
Ooh,
So that's all my thoughts.
okay.
That's all my thoughts on the Warehouse matches. In other matches, I think this was just before Keres started this new gimmick of hers. But like she was already hitting her stride. So it wasn't that surprising to see her advance, but against Makima, that's a very tough opponent, and overcoming that is difficult. So shout out to Johnny for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, Truth versus Summers, obviously the highlight of second round if you discount the Warehouse, because the premise of the match, like putting the North American Championship on the line, obviously raises the stakes even higher. And I was very interested and even confused by the finish, that I actually ended up DMing about how did this happen, if you remember.
Yeah, I do. So when I found out that I was going to be facing Cyrus Truth, obviously I'm always trying to think of how to make it so that a Sean Summers match or a feud is something that people want to be interested in. And I was like, well, Sean Summers is a dick, and he would definitely be like, oh, if you're truly the champion, I'm facing the champion, put the belt on the line. And I know Cyrus Truth's character is definitely not gonna say, oh, I'm not putting the belt on the line, because he's willing to defend his honor against anybody. So I thought that would make a really good piece to the add to the tournament to kind of make it seem like the stakes were higher. And I DM'd SS about it, and I was like, hey, would you see if Cyrus Troop would be interested in this? And Cyrus is just always down to he's always down to clown. He was like, hell yeah, another chance to get rid of Sean Summers. Shut his fucking mouth. I'll do it. And I was like, all right, bet. Let's do it like this. Either way, Cyrus Truth walks out with the North American Championship. Yeah, we're pulling the curtain, pulling back the curtain. So Cyrus Truth was always going to walk out with the North American Championship, whether it have been some a Cyrus Truth defeating Sean Summers 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, or Sean Summers getting a victory via disqualification or count out. That was the two options that I kind of gave. Like, hey, Sean Summers wins, make it by a DQ or count out. Cyrus Truth still looks strong, and it adds a little bit of, oh shit, like every move, everything you do in this tournament counts. And shout out to SS because I mean, man, you wrote the hell out of that match. Bringing it, I wasn't expecting you to bring it down to the last couple seconds of the match. Um, and have Sean Summers pull it out, do a count out that way. I thought that was brilliant writing, and I thought it also kind of leaves a door open for a Sean Summers, Cyrus Truth, um, another match between them down the road, whether it be in the next year or two, whatever. But Cyrus Truth walks out with the title, but Sean Summers walks out with the win. So although Sean Summers advances, he doesn't get what he initially wanted, which was the North American Championship. And Cyrus Truth doesn't advance, but he still leaves with his title. So everybody looks good in the end, and I think it made for a really good matchup. The promo I wrote against Cyrus Truth was kind of based along the lines of, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but I've become literally obsessed with it. It's called The Deer Hunter with Robert De Niro and Christopher Watkins, also known as Uncle Roo, and it was just it was the inspiration behind the promo. And if you haven't had a chance, definitely read it. I thought it was some of my better writing as of late. And I thought Cyrus Truth did an amazing job as well. I knew it was going to be a close matchup between us, since it always is. And it's always a pleasure writing against him. So, yeah, that was fun. And when an Oz messaged me about it, I was kind of like, yeah, man. I'm glad that it caused some conversation, because that's one of the big things that I'm going for this year in FWA is more moments that cause conversation amongst the Fed, and I feel like that's been happening a lot with a lot of the moments going on out of this Fallout Eliminator tournament. People are talking, and it's bringing discussion not only to the Discord but to the actual forum, which helps us get more members and show people, hey, we're active and we're doing dope shit. So yeah.
Yeah, just to go back to what you said before, I agree that both people came out of it looking good, but like importantly, neither of them were like particularly happy with the result as well. So it made it like an interesting dynamic from that perspective. You're right, Summers was involved in a couple of big moments in the tournament. This and obviously the debut of Kid Koala as well. The two big moments that Summers was involved in.
Yeah, and it's starting to become shit. I'm getting too far away from my computer, so you probably can't hear me. Um, it's starting to become a thing where almost a trope. I think Man started it last year or 2 years ago, where Sean Summers is your first opponent when you come to the FWA, and it's almost like he's the welcome committee, and I like it, but also. Because it gives people a kind of an introduction as to, hey, this is what you're getting into with the FWA. Either you're ready to write your ass off and kill it, or you're like, this may not be for me. So it's fun, but it's also and I get to, because I it also is a pain in the ass for me, because then I have to go and look at their character and read their bio and try and figure out what the fuck their character's about, and pray to God that I'm not going up against some novelist who just decided to do this for fun. So it's always interesting.
Sure.
All right. So up next is the quarterfinals, which this is
Before we get to
where
that, can I have like one last thing to say about second rounds? If that's okay with you
absolutely,
guys.
hell yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be not very important. I just have to figure out. I'm going to break my rule to not talk about the warehouse, because what I'm going to say relates to the warehouse. I think it's insane that we got the fucking Macarena guys in the warehouse for Chris Peacock's entrance. That's the thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, man. Okay, so explain. Someone has to explain the warehouse to me because I don't get it. I'm
Yeah,
old.
think
I'm
of
old school.
yeah, think you know Lucha Underground, right? How much do you know Lucha Underground?
Not much. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, so it's think of it like a more like a Fight Club then. It's like a more gritty definition. It's like a more gritty version of FWA owned by Thomas Princeton and is affiliated with the whole Danny Tonerverse, NTR and Ryan Ronda and whatnot. And
I
Danny
think okay, I can
Toner,
do
Chris
that.
Peacock, Aleister Black, yeah, they often holds important matches there, like every year around the New Year's Eve. And like it has like a very loose affiliation with FWA as well.
Yeah, I think originally it like had it was like deliberately not associated with the FWA, and like everybody there had like a different entrance theme to their usual FWA theme for copyright reasons and that kind of stuff. But in this most recent incarnation, it definitely did three eliminator matches. It was much more a FWA thing, even though it was still in the side hustle sub forum.
Right on. Okay. Yeah, I had no idea the warehouse was what it was about. I was kind of like, I don't know. And unfortunately I didn't ever keep up with it. I know the X Championship's been defended there a little bit. Peacock versus Uncle, I think was at the warehouse. The first one, I think it was some matchup, and I know a lot of people talked about it, but my goddamn social life gets in the way of me actually being able to read a lot of the shit I want to. It does, unfortunately. And I don't make time for like I'm always just like, oh man, I'll make time for it and I don't because I'll get lazy or I'll go to sleep or I'll get stoned or something. So I'm trying to work on that in 2025.
I think it was Peacock Toner at the warehouse early incarnations rather than Peacock Uncle, but I might be wrong.
And
You're probably right.
the only time Uncle appeared in the warehouse when after it was after Toner Black Peacock had a triple threat match for the X style, and after that Toner did a tribute for AON who was ill at the time, and after that Uncle came out and smacked the fuck out of Danny.
All right, so we jump in. Now we're going to the quarterfinals of this tournament. Quarterfinals happened on Meltdown, whatever number that is, XLVII.
27.
47?
27.
27. What? I don't know.
47. 47.
47. Okay. I was like, what? These numbers, Romans. Anywho. All right, so quarterfinals, you got Traffic Cone number 2 versus XYZ, Karis versus Nova Diamond, Mike Parr versus Nova Taylor, and Sean Summers versus Danny Toner. All right,
Yeah, and
Oz, this time. Oh, go ahead, SS.
you've also got Aaron Harrows who won a briefcase in the Secular Spectacular and inserted himself in the Traffic Cone 2 versus XYZ match.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
fell for
okay,
the
but
oldest streak in the book.
if I
He was
can, I'm gonna put you guys on the spot. What match would you have chosen to jump into?
um
I was already in the tournament, so what do you expect me to answer?
Well, if you weren't in the tournament, let's say you were Aaron Harrows, what match would you have jumped in?
Okay. Okay. I probably would have taken my chance against Garrett versus Nova Diamond. I'm not being self-deprecating because all the other matches have, when you look at statistic, have someone who did better than Nova Diamond grades-wise. Traffic Cone, Nova Taylor, and Danny Toner did all. I think they all did better than Nova Diamond in the grade averages, at least.
Interesting.
well, the grade averages I posted were of mine only and were slightly wrong as well. So I don't know what they would be. I think I also, even though I had Diamond slightly wrong, I had him over no. I would have probably gone with either Kerry's Diamond or Taylor Parr. Probably Taylor Parr. I would have probably chosen. But I would have
That would
wanted
have
to
been the
steer,
match I chose.
would have wanted to steer clear of Toner and TC2.
Yeah, Par Taylor was the match that I was thinking I would have chose for Aaron Harrows. Um, Traffic Cone number 2 and XYZ. That one, I would never went anywhere near Traffic Cone number 2. I'm gonna be honest. Uh, just I would have just left that shit alone.
Could have had that choice, of course, and Gip actually only chose that as his number one priority in the secular spectacular because he thought that it was the one that I wanted, and he wanted to try and deny me from winning that. But I wanted, so yeah, he ended up getting that, even though he came. I think he came second in that match, but yeah, he got that as his choice.
Shout out to our boy Gip. Um,
Yeah,
Friend of the pod.
yeah, friend of the pod. Oh man, throwback. I forgot all about friend of the pod. Hell yeah. Um, all right, so the quarterfinals. Um, Oz, baby, we're gonna start with you. Tell us your match of the quarterfinals, and tell us about your promo for the quarterfinals, as well as what do you think was one of the standout promos from the quarterfinals.
Okay, I think for me the stand-up promo was obvious. I'm going to shout out both to Traficon and Danny Toner. Those are my boys. I've been ride or die with them ever since fucking what 2020. Yeah, those are my standout guys, obviously, and they both had the smashing promos, especially Danny Toner with his coming to terms with the feeling, coming to terms with his feelings over what happened between Sean Summers and Michelle von Horowitz. It's as it's been revealed to him for the first time, and seeing that side of Danny's, that manipulative side, that psychopathic side, is like, yeah, that guy's a fucking man. That guy's cinema. That guy's like Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, like you said, that guy's Al Pacino. That guy's Michael Corleone. That guy's everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
On
For
the other
sure.
hand, Traffic Con 2's like emotions, feelings in the promo he done against XYZ and Aaron Harrows, and how the Table for Three came together, and how he aired his actual feelings of inferiority and his kinship between the two opponents he also saw as like butts of the joke. Yeah, those two promos were fantastic, but I'm just gonna give a shout out to two other people, and that's both members of the Eternal. I've already given a shout out to Keras in the previous rounds, and like for this one, I'm gonna do it again because she was in the middle of a gimmick change. Well, not a gimmick change, but she was in the middle of her own unique storyline, which was obviously very unique and peculiar, with many people having many opinions about that. But and in the end, having to navigate the tournament in between all that is not an easy task at all. And I think our match was very close between me and Johnny. So I think he's done a great job pulling up for that. And on the other side, yeah, Noah Taylor, what a run from Rosie from this tournament, all the while having Katsu as a primary character and having to tangle with the MVH feud. Like, I didn't give a shout out to Noah Taylor in the previous rounds because there were a lot of rounds where Noah Taylor was in it, and there were plenty of opportunities to give a shout out to her. So yeah, what a fantastic run from her. And I think we should also give her our flowers in the semifinals section. But other than that, yeah, I think that's all matches covered, I think. As I think you also asked about my promo.
Yeah.
I think that promo was not as good as the promo I did against Aleister Black, but yeah, I'm glad with the stuff I've done against Keras. I think, yeah, the key to that promo was exploring the relationship between Keras and Noah Diamond, those two people who have only faced once in an FWA ring before, but there's this unique connection between them because Keras, his father, is Slate Base, a character that has not appeared in FWA television, but is deeply connected to Noah Taylor and Keras' characters' past. And the funny thing about Slate Base is his base pick, his pick claim, is literally the same guy as Noah Diamond's pick base. So from the very first day, Johnny sent me a DM saying, "Hey, we use the same pick base," and like, is it cool? Like, if I continue to use him as Slate Base? And I said, "Yeah, if you ever bring him to FWA, we'll just I can either change or we just play it up as a very peculiar thing, and the second option is what we went with. Even when Eternal and NTR faced up in the tag team tournament, I went to Johnny and asked him, hey, can Nova Diamond pretend to be Slate Base just to have play mind games with Keres? And he said, yeah, go for it. And from that, there is this unique relationship between Keres and Diamond, and I wanted to focus on it and explore that in my promo with Nova Diamond, basically treating Keres as a rebellious daughter in it. And that approach got me the victory. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's done. Yeah, that's my feelings about it.
Yeah, Johnny's always fun. Good. Sorry. Johnny's always up for fun storyline things like that.
Yeah, I think this was the one that I read for Karis. I jumped in it, so that was a promo where I didn't know any backstory or anything like that. I jumped in it. Amazing job of painting a picture. I could visualize everything just from the way they were writing. Sounded really good. The only thing I was just kind of like, I don't, and this is a me thing, because Johnny wrote the hell out of it. I just didn't get it, you know. But that was because, again, I jumped in as a reader in the middle of a storyline that they were telling, and that's on me. But as far as their writing was solid, and it definitely made me say, "Oh shit, this is an individual to watch." As far as an opponent or anything goes, because I was like, well, there ain't gonna be no, I can just throw together something at the last minute. No, I need to actually plan, because this motherfucker is a writer. So definitely good on them.
Yeah, the Eternal stuff definitely is really high concept, and I agree. Like, it can be quite daunting to jump into a single promo, even as mods. Like, when we're reading like the promos on a week-to-week basis, either because they're alluding to things that happen like years even before they arrive in the FWA, or just because it's like so subtle what they're doing to the point where only really the writer understands what they're laying down in terms of the character work. But even so with Kerry's, I think Johnny's, like, as you mentioned, really good at like painting a picture, like creating a visual, and that's one of like his key strengths as a writer, and he's one of the best people at that in the Fed.
Sure, for sure. SS, speaking of the quarterfinals, go ahead and I'm gonna get it from you. What did you think of the matchups? What was your favorite match? And what was some standout promos that you remember?
In terms of the closest match, I would say it's probably Diamond Carries. I had that only 0.6 apart. Again, I had Toner up as my best promo of the round again with a 34. Fantastic promo. As Oz has already like summed up my thoughts pretty well on it. I loved like him finding out about the Sean Michelle thing, and then the whole thing was kind of a reaction to that. And as Oz mentioned, kind of like a delving into his more manipulative side was great. And throughout the whole tournament as well, I thought a really good strand of storytelling amongst all three NTR characters, which really tied them together and created a whole arc across both promos and storylines, was like the hierarchy within NTR, and how each of the people in NTR like view themselves. Like Coney, who could almost be seen as like a leader of the dojo, or is the leader of the dojo really in many respects, but he like views himself as secondary to the, as he calls them, the primaries. And then there was one round where that was a real big theme in the TC2 promo, and then in the Diamond promo he was viewing himself as a secondary in Danny's story in this tournament, to get the title and the match against Michelle, perhaps at Back in Business. And then Toner, his promo was again exploring the relationships and the dynamic within NTR, and I thought that was a really, really good like strand between the promos. I think that might have been in the previous round to this, but it's something that developed all the way through the tournament. TC2 as well, there's a big shout out in this round. Another great promo from him. I loved all the way through the character work, really delving into both his motivations within NTR and also the past of the character as well. Their ancient history, which I mentioned earlier that his physical form became more ambiguous to me with his introduction in the SWA, as well as his true nature, shall we say. But I think there are I think there's several allusions to his true nature within the promos in this tournament, which I won't point at directly, but I think to anybody that is interested in who he is, like reading these promos, would narrow it down somewhat. But yeah, really great work all the way through, and another high grade from me in this round. The Eternal characters as well, both fantastic. I did have Toner quite a little bit above Summers, but I thought Summers' work was great all the way through the tournament. Deserved the run to the semi-finals for sure, but just came up against Toner that wouldn't be stopped. And this was really Danny's last non-NTR match, so the last opportunity for anyone to knock him out. But like that, I guess we will address the end of Fallout 48 maybe at the end of the tournament, so I'll save my thoughts on that for then.
Yeah, it's I think this was the round where I actually started getting in and reading people's promos, and I found myself being like, CBK, you gotta step it up, because these are not the same writers you were working with last year or even the year before that. So yeah, it was disappointing to lose to Danny Toner, I'll be honest. But the promo that I wrote, I felt like, although it wasn't a winner per se, it was a good jump start for the overall story that I'm working on telling with Sean Summers. And I think after reading the Danny Toner promo for this, it brought me to the idea of that those two just can't have a match where it's just pinfall or submission, he wins or whatnot. It just wouldn't have made sense. Danny Toner just found out that Sean Summers had smashed Michelle. I thought that was common knowledge, but maybe it wasn't.
Well, they did have a whole feud about it, so that's that bad.
Okay, I was like, I thought it was common knowledge. Like, yeah, man.
It made for a better storyline that Danny didn't find out about it until the Summers match, because he was too busy agitating Peacock and doing NTR shit and setting up NTR shit behind the scenes and shit.
I think there was allusions in the Toner promo that the NTR guys had been keeping it from him.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the Danny Toner promo. I hate this because I feel like sometimes it'd be like, oh man, on these podcasts we like zero in on one person and like that whole person becomes the basis of the podcast. But like this, honestly, this one, Danny Toner is the basis of this tournament, in my opinion. The dude is like the breakout star. Spoiler, that was going to be a question later, but in my opinion, Danny Toner is the breakout star of the tournament. The promo he wrote, like I said in my review, and like you heard Oz say a little bit earlier, it's giving definitely Robert De Niro and Goodfellas vibes, Michael Corleone vibes. The manipulation in that promo of trigger warning. I know the kids nowadays call it unaliving yourself, so I'll use that. Him manipulating people into thinking that he was going to unalive himself, not once but twice in the promo, was really strong, and it really showed just what Danny Toner is all about. And I thought that was really well written. The relationship with this girl, Danny just let me just say, Tig is just blowing up as far as a writer. It's been doing this for a while, but like he's really just, I think he's at his prime right now, and I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to really touch Danny Toner for a while if he keeps up this stuff. It was amazing. Him finding out about Michelle and Sean, big moment. And I said, well, he found out about it and it's impacted him heavily. match can't end in just a pinfall submission. So I started thinking about stuff and I messaged SS and I was like, hey, what if we did this? And I told him, I was like, trigger warning, this image is pretty graphic. But I remembered a UFC fight from when we were in high school. It was Joe Daddy Stevenson versus BJ Penn. And for a while, if you aren't MMA fans, you'll probably tune this out. But BJ Penn was on a tear like Danny Toner is, but it was almost worse because he was leaving these dudes who were top-notch fighters. He had them busted open, bloodied, just looking a mess. George St. Pierre is one that comes to mind as well. But the Joe Daddy Stevenson fight, at the end of the fight, Joe Daddy, as you saw an image I sent in the chat, Joe Daddy was he looked like he was screaming, crying blood. He was just a mess, gashed open, blood everywhere. And I said, that's how it has to end if Sean Summers is going to lose this match. Danny Toner needs to beat the shit out of him. And boy, did SS have Danny Toner beat the hell out of Sean Summers. It was just the way you wrote that match. I could visualize Sean Summers just getting pummeled, punch after punch, just beat down in the ring. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like Sean Summers got probably like 10% of offense in that match, and then Danny Toner just manhandled him. And normally I'd be like, yo, SS, what the hell? But like in this instance, I was like, yo, SS, that's how you write this shit. And I thought it was beautiful.
You asked for it. Like,
yeah.
2 points on that. I guess I when you asked for that to be the way that the match went, if Summers lost, I thought that was great. Like, it really allowed the storyline from mostly Danny's promo as well to carry over onto the show, which was a large part of why I enjoyed the NTR promo so much throughout this. Was that it really seemed to work in tandem with what I saw on the show. And enhanced the storylines on the show and what you were seeing in the promos and the match right up like what you wanted in the write-up allowed that. And like I agree with I thought there was a big reaction to that match and that image of Summers at the end of it. In the Discord and stuff, it really seemed like a lot of people reacting to another person's match, which isn't not necessarily that as common as it should be, but there was a huge reaction to that match, which was great. In terms of, I think Summers had more offense than you think if you go back to it. I definitely made sure that Summers had a reasonable amount of offense, but all of Summers' offense, I think, is like traditional wrestling stuff, and then Toner's it looks more impactful because he's just trying to bludgeon Summers. And I don't really watch MMA or UFC or anything like that. I've probably seen less than 10 MMA fights in total. But like the image that you sent me, I thought there's no way that you're going to be able to get Summers like that unless he's taking an absolute pasting throughout the match, and that's like Toner's primary focus is like fucking him up to that point. Like, it can't just be like one spot at the end that results in all of that. It's not. It just wouldn't be realistic. So yeah, but I was really happy with that match right up. I thought, for considering as well that it was just like a match on a meltdown as well, I think that was it was really hype, and I think that a lot of people enjoyed that match. It was good.
Yeah, for sure. You put your whole SS ussy into it, as we would say on the pod. So shout out to you for that, man. Shout out to Danny Toner. Shout out to all of you all who made it to the semifinals. Definitely worthy of it. So that's where we're gonna head next, is to the semifinals, where we've got Toner versus Diamond. Traffic cone number 2 versus, I believe it was Taylor. Yeah.
Yes, Taylor. It was Noah Taylor.
Yeah. So SS, it's your turn. Kind of tell us what you thought of the semifinals, who had the promo that kind of stuck out to you, and what match was your favorite.
So this was obviously it's still like a 10-day promo window for this, but I guess some of the people in the tournament were really seeing this as like where it was getting kind of relentless now, in terms of the output that they had to put in. But like, I think people stepped up with great promos again. I didn't know if Oz was going to promo seriously for the match at all. I thought throughout the tournament, I was convinced actually in the mod chat that Diamond wasn't going to really promo at all, and just let Toner walk through this. I thought there was crumbs throughout the tournament that was alluding to that. But I thought the Nova promo did a good job of giving some sort of motivation for Nova within the match, or for after the tournament, for what he might do following its climax. I thought that the TCT promo again was brilliant. All 4 promos at this stage of the tournament were amazing. The lowest grade I had was 32.7, which would have won any other match really in the tournament so far, unless they were against Toner. But yeah, fantastic semi-finalists. I thought all 4 were worthy of going to the final. I thought the story of the tournament really came to a head here with only Nova Taylor left, and the 3 NTR guys, and she's like the last chance for everyone else essentially. But she's the 10th of 10 people to have the chance to knock any of the NTR guys out. So although I was sure it would be more of a walkover for Toner at this stage, I thought both the semis and the finals, if TC2 won, would be like finger poke matches. I thought they'd earned it at this stage. 10 people had the chance to knock somebody out from NTR, which is a lot of people, and none of them could do it. So they've earned the right to do whatever they want with the end of the tournament here. And yeah, that story coming to a kind of climax on this show on Melbourne was brilliant. It was really it was great. It was theatre.
Oz, what are your thoughts on round 2, the semifinals? I'm sorry.
Yeah, first of all, I never even considered the no showing once. I was always going to do a promo. In fact, I had a bigger, better promo in mind, but like I said, procrastination hits us sometimes. For some of us, it's most of the times, but yeah, it happens. Even if I executed my promo idea to its fullest potential, would I have beaten Toner with the praise SS has been giving it to it so far? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm still proud of what I've done, and it's made for a very interesting read in the matchup. For the other matchup, yeah, it was such a good story that Taylor was. It was Taylor against 3 NTR guys in the semifinals, and Taylor has to run the gauntlet of TC2 or either Diamond or Toner. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would also agree that the schedule was getting a bit grueling. Even Rosie had said that she was getting a bit tired. But even under those circumstances, putting out that promo against DC2 like that's super fucking impressive, I'm gonna tell you. Like I said before, Taylor deserves all the props in the world for her run in this tournament. For the breakout star question, spoiler alert, I'm probably going to answer with her name. So yeah, me saying that defeats the whole purpose of a later question, but there you have it.
It definitely does. Thank you, Oz. Now, I guess semifinals. First off, just so I can put this out there, I do think Rosie deserves her flowers for not only the Taylor character but the Katsu character as well. They've been on such a run, just coming in here and writing and creating not just these characters but this entire universe, the Rosieverse as I'm calling it. The Rosieverse is just really creating these 3-dimensional characters where they have emotions, they have friendships, they have all of these things. So shout out to Rosie on that amazing writing been going on, and just being able to juggle 2 strong hitters of characters is very tough, and so definitely deserves a round of applause for that. Semifinals, Oz, I want to talk about your promo for a second. I thought what you did was interesting concept. First of all, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And you're answering questions about Danny Toner. And I think I said this in my write-up for the review, which I'm getting old, unfortunately, so I can't remember everything that I say and or do. Um, but I believe it was this promo where your last line was, "I know the answer," and I was just, "You know the answer," and then you gave the answer to your promo. I mean, to the final question, and I was like, "Oh, he's lying." Um, I don't think the answer was on the board. I don't think it was on the board. I think it was kind of just a cop out because you're doing what's best for the group, not what's best for Nova Diamond, which is also something that I think is interesting as well. And I could be completely off base, but don't tell me if I am or if I'm not, because I love to live in delusion. That's my favorite state to live in nowadays. Um, you did. You just did an amazing job, and I was just impressed of how well that, because I didn't know I didn't know that you and Danny Turner had that much of a relationship, and Nova Diamond knows Danny Turner very well, and I thought it came through very strong with the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire theme, because that's not something that you normally see. People do fun things, but they don't do it in a way where I think that it truly match focus match focus and really dissecting your opponent in a way that isn't just dogging them out. Like you did it in a way where it's kind of like, hey, I know this motherfucker. I can beat him. Here it is. I know his things. Um, I just thought it was really good, and I'm always impressed with you as a writer. The way you are able to jump between characters like Nova Diamond and Caesar is just amazing. So shout out to you. Do you want the world title back? The answer is yes, but not right now. That's my opinion, and
I'm
I'm
not saying you
sticking with
should.
it. Now to go to Danny
But
Toner's promo.
thank you so much for the kind words, man. That means a lot to
Absolutely,
me.
absolutely, man. Yeah. To go to the Danny Toner promo, fucking psychopath. That's what he is. He's a nutcase. Who sends you? You send these people out on these little mental what do I want to call it?
Field trips?
Mental. No, it's mental homicides because that's what you did. He did a mental homicide on each individual who he sent a tape to in some way or form. Sending that man, Chris Quinn, I believe, to the hospital for them to tell him, yeah, man, like you haven't been into the hospital in a while. Your leg's kind of fucked. Danny Toner is a dick. He's the dick that you all think Sean Summers is.
Yeah,
Um,
6.2 inches or some shit.
yeah, dude is not good. Um, he's not a good person either. At this point in his life, people can change. So,
With the
it's what's
with
up?
the cassette tapes, I thought when I read that might have been a reference to the Michelle promo with Ryan Rondo where he's sending her tapes mono no aware. But I think it might have just been coincidence when I spoke to Tig about it. But yeah, it was a nice
Oh,
parallel
shit.
between and another NTR member.
Damn, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even know about that. See, kids, this is what happens when you read. You learn different things. Um, there was it was just something really menacing about Danny Turner and his turn promo, and like when I was reading it, I really got invested in it to where I'm reading it and I'm getting the whole visual of the gritty kind of nature of when you play something on a cassette tape, how it kind of isn't. You know how it sounds when you do a cassette tape. If you're old enough to have remembered those, some of you are I know probably burned in the 2000s and don't even know what a cassette is, but it was beautiful. And like I said, the heel work was great. The only problem I had with it was Allstate Arena versus United Center for the Chicago arenas. I am unnecessarily big on Allstate Arena is not in Chicago. So anytime we say we're putting the show in Chicago, I'm always like, if it's not United Center where Michael Jordan was putting in work, I don't want to hear about it. But that's just me being a stickler on that stuff. But oh man, Danny Toner, what can we say, man? Just amazing throughout this entire tournament. Picking up the win over Diamond. Um, I was disappointed because I kind of wanted Danny Toner to finally get his comeuppance, but it's whatever.
That'll
All
come.
right.
That'll come. Don't worry, Tony. That'll come.
All right. Well, speaking of, we can talk about the finals, but I mean, it's kind of just where it is. Unfortunately, traffic cone number 2 wasn't able to.
Tony, I had an
Go ahead.
idea. I had an idea for the scene as it's only a very short match. We could do a impromptu reading of the final. Which would
Oh yeah,
take about a minute.
yeah. Let me pull up the thread. Everybody, pull up the thread if you got a chance, and let's pull it up. What Fallout is it?
All
Two
out
nights in
48.
Paris.
48. Two
Yeah.
I'll
nights in
be
Paris, yeah.
I'll be
Second
Jean.
night.
I'll be Jean-Luc.
Be Jean-Luc. Where are we at? Where are we at? All right.
I'll be Nova
All right.
Diamond, I guess.
You become you have surely.
All right,
Okay.
and then I'll just read the expositions and all that shit.
I mean, there's
All right.
also Nova Diamond in the entrances, so.
I
Oh,
think
is
we're just bell to bell, bell to bell.
Bell to bell. All right, Jean-Luc, start us off.
They can't do this. They're going to make a mockery of the entire tournament.
The entire audience in the crowd starts chanting "No" at TC2, who looks around to his left and right. As Nova Attenborough looks on from the outside, Danny shakes his head and says, "Don't listen to them," to TC2.
What will Connie do?
TC2 stops looking around at the crowd and stares at Danny for a moment amidst the din as the crowd keep chanting, "No, no, no." With the view of seeing a proper finals match, Danny stares right back at TC2 and points once again at the mat below their feet. Ringside camera, zooming in on Danny Toner's face, catches him mouthing, "The plan." TC2 responds with a nod and then gets down and lays at Danny's feet.
Not this way.
Crowd turns apoplectic as a smile breaks out on Danny Toner's face. Amid the shower of boos, Danny steps forward, mock beats his chest one more time, puts a boot on TC2's chest slope, and strikes a triumphant flex. The referee makes the count as TC2 applauds his conqueror while laying on his back. 1,
What a joke.
2,
Pathetic.
3. Ding, ding, ding. Danny Toner wins via pinfall at 35 seconds.
The controversy
Cinema.
that
What
everybody
a
saw.
match.
Cinema. SS.
Match of the year.
Take us through it. What was the reasoning behind it? How'd you come up with it?
I didn't come up with this. I didn't write this.
Yeah,
Oh, you didn't? Who?
Most of NTR ideas come from NTR guys like me, and it's
Oh,
again
shit.
obviously TT2 and Shake.
I think the only NTR match I wrote all tournament was the Toner Summers match from memory.
Right on. Okay, well, Shake. Next time you got a free minute, we need you to just come in here and recap the thought process behind this match. But I do want to know. So TC2 wasn't able to promo, yeah?
Yes, he wasn't able to promo for real life reasons.
Got it. Okay. I read the Danny Toner promo. Oz, I'm assuming you guys both read it too, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Okay. Apparently it's based on a play. Yeah?
Yes.
Never heard
Yes,
of
yes.
the play.
Waiting for Godot.
Can someone tell me what this play is about? Just give a quick high level overview.
I think it's a Samuel Beckett play. It's about these two guys. I think they're homeless guys. I saw this play when I was at university like 15 years ago, but I don't really know it that well. I think it's two homeless guys waiting for a third guy, from what I remember.
Yeah, and they talk about all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
That's it?
And it's like it's meant to be a tragic comedy, like absurdism, like an absurdist theater.
Okay.
Like I
That's
can
so
tell you
interesting.
more about like the absurdism theater, but like we're here to talk e-fetting, not like classic theater.
Yeah. No. One day we'll do a breakdown of our favorite theater plays.
I knew enough about the play to understand that the promo was referencing the play, but I know that Teague likes the play. I vaguely remembered him asking about it before, so I searched for it in the Discord actually after reading the promo, and saw that like 3-4 years ago or something, he just put a random message saying, "What's everyone's thoughts on Waiting for Godot?" in the Discord. So he must have been thinking about this promo for a long time, I think. So I doubt that I really understood a lot of the intricacies of the reference, but I enjoyed it from a perspective of a look at his relationship with FTM, which was obviously a good match focus choice considering who the match was against.
Yeah, it was interesting waiting for Rondo. Um, I had never heard of the play. I just jumped in and read it as just a regular person reading some shit, and I liked it. I really liked the way that I like the I like the way that like Danny basically was like, I don't know about you guys, but if you're gonna sit here like the traffic cone, he was like, you can sit here and stay in the same place all you want, but I'm getting up and I'm gonna do something and I'm gonna keep it moving. And I felt like that was maybe like a reference to like Danny Toner moving forward in his plan,
Mm.
which is to become the world champion. Um, and he's not letting anybody or even his compatriots hold him back from moving forward with it. And that's the thought that I got from it. But I could be completely wrong. But if I am completely wrong, again, don't tell me because I love living in ignorance. So um, that's what I got. I loved it. I loved the way that they, because it kind of made it was so frustrating because the people were like, "Oh, what? Like you didn't talk to me. I don't know who you're talking about. Like we've never met." And I was like, "Yes, you did. You told." I was getting mad for Danny Toner, which doesn't happen often. And when I'm reading anything, I don't get that invested in the characters like that. But when I do, it's just like, God damn it. And so I was like, yes, they do know him. And like, it was so frustrating. And then he gets up and leaves, like, spoiler alert. He gets up and he's like, well, I'm out of here. And I'm going to go find this dude. And then, like, 2 lines later, who shows up? This motherfucker, Rondo. Like, I was like, oh, perfect. Rondo's still in the same, is back there while Danny Toner is still moving forward.
Mm.
Look at this foreshadowing of shit to come. Maybe. Who knows? That's what I got out of it. But what we got out of it was we got our finals.
Yeah.
We got our finals. We got our winner of the tournament, Danny Toner. And
Mm.
that brings us to the Grand March, where I've dubbed it as where the revolution begins. Um, because I think that this is an NTR revolution taking over the FWA right here at this show with a dog collar matchup between Danny Toner and Jeremy Best. When I heard that it was a dog collar match, I said, "What the fuck? That's so random." But that seems like such a match that would be for people who hate each other. Like I feel like that would almost be a Danny Toner Michelle match. But we get Danny Toner versus Jeremy Best in a dog collar match. How did that come about?
That was, I think it might have been Dub's idea to do
Okay.
that. I'm not
We
100%
needed
sure.
we needed to make sure Denny and Bess were actually going to fight instead of like a Best's proposal in the after the finals, you know. You want those guys to fight, and like a dog color is gonna make sure they can't run away from each other at least.
Mm.
It's interesting. Why
We
not
could
put him
have
in a
made
steel
it a
cage?
cage match, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, Best already had a cage match against Cyrus to defend his title, and like, we didn't want it to be too repetitive.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. So Danny Toner versus Jeremy Best in a dog collar matchup with us, and then at the end of Fallout, we saw basically, as I stated in the Discord, we saw the FWA frontline, as I'm calling them, come out with Cyrus Truth, Gabby, Mike Parr. You got
Axel
uh,
Smokes, don't forget
thank
Axel
you.
Smokes.
Thank you. You know, I don't remember anybody's name who I haven't been fedding with for the last 5 years. And Chris Peacock, Aleister Black, someone else. And Katsu came out as well. And no shade against Katsu. Everything I write on the Discord about dogging out the character about fucking Foxface. That's Sean Summers. I actually dig the character. I think what you're doing is interesting. As I stated earlier too. But yeah, I think that from a Sean Summers perspective, he hates everything about this. You all are coming together like basically a FWA friendship alliance.
to take on
Uh-oh.
NTR with the same people who already got smacked down by NTR, and you think because you joined forces that it's going to be able to take them down? No, it's just going to make it easier for them to knock you all down together, and you're going to be embarrassed in the middle of the ring. Kind of crazy to me. I would have chose someone better, but that's Sean Summers from CBK talking. I love it. I think the ending is amazing. I think it sets up so many possibilities. We're so close to back in business. I do not think that War Games matchup would even be on the table at this point. Maybe for the anniversary show, if things keep going the way they're going, you could possibly put together a War Game match between NTR versus the FWA. But I would like to see that War Games match feature less of the established FWA stars and more of the up and coming ones as well. But that's my opinion on it. What do you guys think?
I think, and I don't want to say too much about this because I think a bit of my Grand March promo will be about this, but I think Peacock's motivations for the Carnal contendership are lame as fuck, to be honest. I think like he's basing his entrance into the Carnal contendership on like wanting to deny Danny Toner the chance to face Michelle. From like a couple of lines in his segment at the end here, which I think is really lame. Like he's already had his chance to stop Danny, and now he's trying to like band together with like just a group of disparate people. But they all, as you said, they all already failed. Like 10 of them already tried to beat them in the tournament and failed. So yeah, he should want to win the tournament to face Danny himself and to be the one to take the title off Danny. So yeah, but as I say, I'm gonna a lot of the Grand March stuff is going to be sorry, some of my Grand March promo is probably going to be about that, just to telegraph that, I guess. But yeah, that's both Michelle and me talking, just to clarify that. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the segment in general. I thought it was really good, like battle lines kind of segment. But I just think they should have all woken up a few weeks ago, because
Yes.
all three of them get into the semi-finals. They had ample opportunities to stop that from happening. But I guess that's unfair. Like people like Aaron Harrows and XYZ, like Kerry's Nova really, really stepped up against the NTR people. But at the end, NTR, they beat them all. So yeah, I guess it does add a bit more of a dimension to the Carnal contendership match for sure. Trying to get that opportunity to face off, and I'm really amped for Best versus Toner. I don't really know who to cheer for in that. But yeah, I think I don't know. Like part of me, well, I guess a large part of me wants actually Best to win because it makes things a lot simpler with the Katsu briefcase situation. Because I don't know, it looks more and more likely now that Katsu's cashing in at the main event of Back in Business. I don't know if it would be before then.
Boo.
I guess I would rather if I'm anybody that's going for the Carnal contendership. Would be thinking about the fact that it's going to be a triple threat, and I wouldn't want to. If Danny's the champion, I wouldn't want to do that triple threat match. So, like, I guess I'm pulling for Best to beat Toner, so then I can still go all in on the Carnal contendership. But it's going to be a great match. I think both Best and Toner have really been on a tear in the second half of the year. Best's title reign now is over a year. Fantastic. Really long reign, both him and Peacock before him. Both had fantastic reigns. Really steadied the ship sort of thing, along with Alistair having a good reign in between. So yeah, it's going to be a great match. Looking forward to it.
Oz, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm going to root for Danny Toner. I know Danny Toner will win. And I will win the Carnal contendership, actually, not Michelle, not Peacock. So yeah, if Katsu wants that NTR triple threat smoke, she can try her best. That's what I'm going to say about this.
Okay. company man following the company line of NTR. Right on. I honestly think. I honestly think that Katsu shouldn't be allowed to cash in the main event of Back in Business. He didn't earn it. Shouldn't be allowed to compete in the CC if that's her idea of how she's going to get to Back in Business. And I actually think this makes her a heel because that's some heel shit. You're a coward. You could have cashed it in anytime between now and between honestly back when you won it and Back in Business, and you chose to cash it in at Back in Business. You're a coward, and I hope the cash in is unsuccessful. Um,
It
that's
depends. It really
Thank you,
depends.
Sean Summers.
I think it really depends. It really depends what the main event is. Like as I say, if it's Jeremy Best versus Michelle, or Jeremy Best versus most other people, or Danny Toner versus most other people, then really, Katsu cash in. I'm fine with it. It's interesting. And to be absolutely clear, like Rosie won, BV won the golden opportunity. Like it's her right to do it whenever. Like go ahead.
absolutely, yeah.
If it is Danny Michelle first time ever and Katsu was to cash in, I agree that would be a big heel move. Like in kayfabe, that would be a big heel move. But that's not the case with every match like that. It could be, and obviously that it could be, Peacock Best, whatever. Cyrus Best, Cyrus Toner. In all of those matches, I don't think it's as heel of a move for Katsu to cash in. But yeah,
Um,
it depends on the match, in my opinion.
I think you're absolutely wrong. I think no matter who's in that matchup and Back in Business, if Katsu cashes in, it is the biggest heel move that we've seen since what is his name? Since the final boss and Cody Rhodes Soul. And I think
What
Sean
about
Summers' lawyers.
Nova
Oh, go ahead.
versus Nova? If it's Nova Diamond versus Danny Toner, or two big heels, Danny Toner versus Sean Summers versus Danny Toner, or something like that. Like a face cashing in on two heels in the main event of Back in Business, especially if it was Diamond and Toner. Like I don't think that would be a heel move for sure.
I'm still calling it a heel move because
Yes,
earn
that
your
will be
spot
the
in that.
biggest heel move of all time.
Yeah, earn your spot in that main event. Don't just insert yourself in it.
Kayfabe, it would be a heel move, but in kayfabe, I don't think that's a heel move. Like to cash in.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Like if it were me, hell yeah, I'd do the same thing. Like, come on. But but like speaking in character, as an antagonist, um, how dare you? How dare you, Katsu? How dare you? But as we near the end of this podcast, I do just have one or two more questions just for you, SS, and then I'll let you go on about your day. Oz, I got you for another podcast, so haha, you don't get to leave.
Woohoo.
Oh shit!
Yeah. I mean, you can join too. I mean, whatever. But
Yeah, as the
here's the question.
moderator.
Yeah, you can moderate it if you want. Anywho, we'll get to that in a second. SS, MVH was not in this tournament. Why?
Well, the Carnival contendership was coming up, and I wanted to be in. I wanted to do a big matchup Back in Business. I thought winning the Carnival contendership would be a good way of doing that. I haven't won the Carnival contendership for the last 3 years, I think, because I've been grading it. So I just thought I'll stick it out, wait for that, and try and win the Carnival contendership instead to get the Back in Business main event because. I wanted to extend the streak in a championship match, maybe, and I haven't been in the championship picture for some years. So doing that Back in Business and starting a third championship reign now would be ideal. So I didn't want to, accidentally win the whole thing by entering this one and not being able to enter the CC then, and somebody had to grade it as well, which people could have graded without being in it, but. If I wasn't in it, it just meant that I could grade. Yeah,
fair. That's fair. Do you think that this tournament, because I know it was all about the World Championship, but do you think that we could see the Fallout Eliminator be used to highlight another championship, like the Fallout Eliminator North American Edition or something like that?
Well, the second F1 was for the North American Championship. I'm definitely
was it?
because I think Brian Baxter was champion going into it, and Baxter did their Eddie Kingston thing of saying, "I'm going to defend it every match," and then we didn't do the Tony Khan thing of saying, "No, it's just the overall tournament winner." But I think Parr beat, or actually maybe I can't remember, but yeah, but the prize was the North American Championship. And Peacock beat MVH in the final of that to do his Grand Slam. But yeah, the less said about that, the better. So I'm definitely not against doing tournaments for other championships. Obviously, for the X Championship, we've got the X4 and King of Death matches historically been for the X Championship as well. The Tiger Championship, we've had the 2 Elite Tag Team Classics the last few years, as well as the Buddy Bowl, which has I think I might have spoiled that earlier. I don't think it's been announced earlier when I said that the Buddy Bowl would be coming back over the next year, but that's definitely in the cards as well. So yeah, tournaments in all divisions are great, but I think in terms of singles tournaments, we're probably going to lay off for the next year, hopefully build other stories. But yeah, I think with like a big effort, the last pay-per-view that we had, which I thought every single match on it was really, really well built, was Winter Wasteland 2024. I mean, obviously there's been great shows since then, but that show at the end of the year, the mod team put like a really big effort in making sure that we decided pretty much the card the day after the pay-per-view, the last pay-per-view had finished, and we set up private chats with everybody. There's no tournaments or anything going on, and we're like, this is what we're working towards. This is the match. We want to build all of the angles, and it was a really well built card. And then Winter Wasteland 2023. This is, and then early 2024. There was a few events like there was the cap kind of controversy. There was the AI controversy. There's a few things that happened back to back, which kind of knocked the wind out of the sails of the Fed a lot. But I think the NTR story has really kind of helped rebuild a lot of the momentum in the last half of 2020. So I think without a tournament over the next cycle, which is obviously back in business as well, we've already got several matches in mind outside of the title picture, and indeed a couple of title matches as well. The X4, I think we've got something in mind for the North American Championship as well. And there's another I think tag team match that we've got scheduled for back in business. So things are already rolling for that, and I think by the end of Carnival Contendership, by the time we've got the grades for that, where we're heading, we'll want to put a full card together and really invest time in building every story on the back in business card, as opposed to tournaments for the next cycle or two.
Right on. All right, well, that is all the questions and the breaking down that I had for the Fallout Eliminator. Oz, what do you got? You got anything else for SS about Fallout Eliminator?
No, not particularly.
All right. Hey, so this has been another episode of Break It Down, brought to you by CBK and Oz. Just want to say a special thank you to SS for taking the time to record this with us. I know that sometimes taking up a Sunday afternoon is not the most ideal thing to do, but really appreciate you and the insight that you brought throughout the entire podcast. Really helped establish that this was a monumental tournament, not just for the FWA, but just for a lot of the characters that were included in there and the stories going forward. So thank you for participating and for being the architect behind this tournament and many of the other tournaments that I've seen in EFED, and you do an amazing job with them, and just can't express enough how great of a writer you are, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here. Really, it was a fun time. Whenever, yeah, I'm always up for it.